This is Total Disruption Boardroom Battleground, where bold entrepreneurs step up and they put their businesses to the test.
Over the next 12 weeks, we'll push our contestants beyond their limits in branding, marketing, leadership, strategy, scalability, and profitability. Every move counts. Every misstep, a crucial lesson. Every victory, a moment to shine. Behind the scenes, a world-class production team will showcase their business like never before.
In the end, a single superstar is going to rise above the rest.
This is Total Disruption. Boardroom Battleground.
Hey, welcome to this week's episode of Boardroom Battleground. Mike and I have got something really special for you this week. We wanted to look back at the contestants and we wanted to really show their journey so far of where they've come from, where they started, where they are today. We're about halfway through the season. We're about halfway through what they're building. And it's really fun to watch and understand that. And for those of you that are just joining, we thought this would be a great opportunity to be able to show the contestants' whole journey, sum it up in 2 episodes this week. You ready, Mike?
I can't wait to dive into this. I've got my notepad over here to the side. So I've got some specific points that I've pulled and want to discuss the journey. I just can't say enough about the progress and the process of some of our contestants. And they've really come a long way to the point where they've hit it out in the park, and some are just really doing it. Others obviously still need to pull a little bit of their own weight. However, I feel like in our look back, we're going to give the audience our recap, which I know everyone has been waiting for. So let's dive in, Jake. Where are we starting and what are we doing here?
I think it's only fair to start ladies first in this. So let's start with Emily. And when Emily first came into this program, what she described to us, we didn't really know what she did. And I don't know that all of her coaches really knew what she did. She was pointing to the fact that she had some kind of sticker that reflected your body's light and did something with stem cells, and that's kind of clear about what she does, but we didn't really get it. So, I mean, when we looked at that episode 1, so what was your impression of Emily when she first got in?
I thought that episode 2 with her is a little better than her in episode 1. But in episode 1, I feel like she was focused on the business component of the product. And then in episode 2, it made more sense because she told the story about how it helped her with her nerve damage. And therefore, it's not a business product any longer. It's a personal journey, right? Like the second someone has an empowerment like that, the second someone has a problem or a trauma, then they go through a process, whether it's to take a pill, drink something, put a patch on, they go through a transformative process, and then they align with the transformative process and start using and utilizing that as a business, kind of like us when we got into coaching. And while we did what we did, we had a transformation at some point along our lives, and we realized, shit, we can help other people do it, right? So episode 2 began that switch from her representing a product to personal brand. Now, when I go to episode 2, where do you go from the springboard of episode 2?
Well, I think episode 2, and you've heard me say this before about some other contestants. I think that's where we met Emily. Not so much, here's the thing that I do. It started to evolve into here's the reason I got into this. Here's the pathway. I don't think she'd fully identified her why just yet. And at that point, she was still really working on, I would say, the marketing of the firm that she was at. The product itself. She was using LifeWave, but she hadn't built her personal brand yet. But I think that's where we met Emily. As the person, as a human being. And then that moved us into episode 3, and she fought this. She fought this tooth and nail, and it still does a little bit around the personal brand, because she works for an organization that she can't control pricing on her product. She can't control distribution. She is for lack of a better term, she's a salesperson. She's an affiliate for a bigger brand that works there. And we talked to her, and I know the coaches did, and I know Jen did, I know Anthony did, I know Chad did, I know Melissa did, and I know we did. And it turned into other contestants talked to her about the reason that they would do business with her is because they knew her. Not because of how cool and awesome the product was, but that's where Emily really started to think about, but she still fought it. And even more recently, she has still been fighting that personal brand. And the reason that I do business with Emily, because I know Emily, because I know who she is, I know what she's about, I know the communities that she's spending time with, I know what her passion is. That's why I want to do business with her, not just because the product is awesome. And I think that's where the shift in her mindset is really starting to change. And I think it occurred for about episode 3 for her.
Okay. Well, the coaching in episode 3 was paramount. I feel like our coaches, you, me, everyone said, whoa. Enough with the nonsense. And I feel like for anybody out there, if you're trying to get your point across and you're trying to influence, it starts with you, right? It starts with the person. It starts with the story. It starts with the experience, the transformation, and then it goes out from there. I feel like at this point, for those that have heard that, they've overheard that, but you can never overhear that. I overhear that, and I don't hear it enough. It echoes anytime I'm coaching to something, anytime I'm at a personal sticking point, anytime I've seen any contestant in the phase of our show stick. When we bring that personal brand piece, we bring that echo in of that personal brand, you moving forward. With the resonation, right? Resonation is there. The relevance is there. Because that's what we're tapping into. That's what this show has captured. The essence of that brand journey, the essence of the entrepreneur, the essence of the person. The essence of the person and how they went through that door or that hallway that made that change.
So let's talk about Sam. Now, Samantha was really easy to fall in love with right away because she is a musician. Like, she's got a great voice. She can play piano. Like, it just automatically, you're attracted to that individual because of talent.
Okay.
And we know talent alone is not enough. Talent alone will get you so far, but you have to systemize your business. And this is where we saw right away, is she's super engaging. Everybody's like, yeah, Sam is cool. And we saw that almost immediately. And yet we also saw some immediate challenges where she challenged Chad right away, in that Chad said, this is where she's got to go in her business. And she said, well, if I don't buy in it, I might listen, but I'm not going to do it. We've seen that. But then we saw that change almost immediately when she talked about in episode 2, right? She talked about franchising nationwide, and she talked about maintaining quality. And there was we started to really see the chinks in Sam's armor there. Episode 2 of that talent and ambition versus the raw grit that you've got to have as a business owner. And there's some hard decisions that have to be made there.
Yeah, we did see a maturation from 1 to, 2, and then the other part of the journey on 3. But just to echo what you said on 1 and 2, yeah, she was this person with a mission, great quality education. And then she went from there to franchise nationwide. I was scratching my head like, oh, is there already Guitar Center or music school, whatever out there? Like, how are you any different? Realize you have the Samantha brand, but you're trying to almost do too much at once. Expand your building, create a franchise model when you're not even certain about what you have now. Articulating your mission and making yourself different is one thing. Franchising that, completely other piece, right? to have a franchise, you actually have to have some proof. You actually have to do something. You can't just franchise an idea like, oh, this may work, right? There's an honesty there, but there's also like, I don't know. Don't you feel like you should actually accomplish something before you franchise it? It would probably behoove you, unless you're franchising the intellectual property, which I don't know. But I when she came in, man, I was a little skeptical. I thought maybe she was too on the art side, a little less on the business side. However, she has loyalty. In episode 3, we saw the customer experience, man. There was some good stuff going on there. When I saw like her personal stuff in her studio and her people talking about her, and I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. So if you can bottle that, you've definitely got yourself a franchisable concept if you compare with the business.
Yeah, and I agree with that. She has built a referral model because of loyalty, because of how she treats her people. Like her teachers stay with her because they're being paid well. And she tries to keep her fees down so that her clients will stay with her. And yet she's got to get to scalable.
Founded I-68 Consulting, leveraging the Special Forces background for the firearms training.
The way I-68
great message, not enough. Great story, not enough. You know why it's not enough? Because no one knows. I guess the idea behind Special Forces is no one knows. You don't want to wave a flag to say, hey, I'm Special Forces, I'm all this stuff, right? Now it's time to leverage that experience, especially with all the vibes on the internet. There's a ton of people on the internet that are doing what Mark's doing, not with the shooting school, but they're leveraging their Special Forces training. That, in my opinion, he's not taking advantage of that enough.
Agree.
He's not. He's
so
agree. Appreciate when you're that mission driven and mission specific, you can focus on build, like in episode 2, building your facility. He's so like, my team, my facility members, customers, this. It's like, dude, it'd be a little easier for you to just market your words and market your experiences and market you, and then have everybody come meet you. Then have everybody come meet you. Like, let me give you a quick story. A friend of mine took me shooting a little bit ago. I told you about this. Well, at this shooting range, the office of the prosecutor, their police force, was there qualifying for pistol stuff. Well, they had to get to the range somehow. And the range it's not like it was this high end of a range or anything. There had to be an initial relationship from the range owner to the person in law enforcement. I'm asking Mark to get that notoriety so he can build those relationships so people will show up to his facility. I'm not saying they don't, but they'll show up in droves. So what do you think when I say that?
I agree. I agree with all of that. And one of Mark's challenges, and we saw this right away, episodes 1 and 2, Mark speaks in military jargon. He speaks military because he's had a very successful career, 23 years, recently retired from the military. So grateful for his service, but he speaks military. He doesn't speak, and he even calls it civilian. There's a distance. He just needs to speak fourth grader. And in that space, I've had the opportunity to watch Mark. I understand what he does because I come from that universe a little bit. So I understand a little bit of what he does. However, I recently spent some time with Mark. He is missing the boat on some amazing things that he does. Because to Mike's point, he's talking about facility. We're going to do this, and this. However, there's some real key components in his hands-on, his direct, the things that he does directly that nobody else is doing. And we absolutely know that's true. And I think that's where the feedback of him speaking more, call it civilian in his language, being more normal, everyday person to be able to do that. I think that started to come around in episode 3. He got, some of that feedback. A lot of what goes on with Mark is, and he has said it, in the military as a Green Beret, they are not the, hey, look at me. That's not who they are. They're not, you just don't know who they are. He has 23 years of that. And right now, that's okay.
Well, when I started out in flipping almost 20 years.
Donnie talks about his 3 F's all the time. He introduced it in episode 1. He comes off that way all the time. He's refined in his commercial pitch, right? His 30-second elevator pitch about what he does. He knows what he does up one side and down the other. No hesitation. You could ask if somebody at any party anywhere said, Donnie, what do you do? He will give you that 30-second elevator pitch. It's beautiful. It's perfect. He can tell you how he does it, but there's where we have some problems. So that's where we saw that in episode 1. Absolutely true. What was your first impression of Donnie?
Pitchman. Good announcer voice, little bit of a pitchman, not dishonest. Selling. This is the balance, right? He's selling himself a little bit too much, a little less process, and he needed to sell the results that he provides, not the program. In other words, the process that he's providing, not just program. Yeah, you want to talk about the results, but selling the process, the ease, the comfort, I'm going to hold your hand through this thing. Yeah, it's your money because it takes money to invest in real estate. I know you hear all these things with wraparound mortgages and all these tricks you can play. Highly sophisticated for your average investor probably wouldn't get into any of that stuff to 6 or 7 deals down the road. And then, you've done your own maintenance, man. You don't know what you don't know. So Donnie, let's say in episode 1 was talking about investors finding funding and flipping. I mean, I love that, right? Yes. Episode two, he talked about acquiring new clients, and then there was kind of a lull because it was a lot of wow, and then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, I don't know what's going on here. Some of his things dried up because it wasn't the right message to sustain marketing, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's absolutely true, is where his message was lacking. He did get a push from Anthony to do some follow-up, to get out there and do some follow-up, and he got the follow-up, and he got the new clients. And it took him 4 episodes from that follow-up all the way to episode 7 to really start on that critical step of implementing some systematic processes within the business. Now that's from Donnie, we're all there, and I will own this one too. I'm not picking Donnie at all in this one. Is we like to be coaches. Mike and I do too. Like, we love being coaches. We're really good at being coaches. We're really good at the things that we want to do. The administrative tasks are hard. That's the hard thing. You and I talk about this all the time. You have to do the hard things in order to get the great things on the other side. And this is where Donnie in episode 7 got challenged, and he's finally starting to do it, because there's a handful of little things that have to get done. He has to touch them. He can't leverage them out. He's got to give his wave, his head nod to it to finish it. He's just been putting them off. But we finally see him starting to make that move in episode 7 to actually getting some of those systems done. We actually saw that.
So when we talk about doing the hard stuff, I feel like everything Donnie does it's not, we're talking about large sums of money. We're talking about acquire a property with what you think is a problem. Then we're talking about renovating the property with what you think it's going to take. And then selling said property for what you think you're going to get. Okay. All that's hard. Donnie, that's easy. He's got that sixth sense and he's got it figured out. The hard thing for Donnie was the implementation of the back end strategy. Corey, in episode 1, we cover co-founded Loving is AI, mission of developing an empathetic AI, artificial intelligence, with blind trust triggers so that there's no programming bias. So if you really look at that, right, that mission of that company, Loving is AI, emotion of love, into artificial intelligence. How can you have emotion and artificial intelligence? I don't know. The right number of ones, the right number of zeros, whatever binary script you're following, I love that idea. I also like the way Corey receives feedback. I don't know if he integrates everything. I've watched him integrate a couple of cues almost immediately and carry them through. And shall I spoil the filming cue Easter egg about Corey, or should I not?
Yes, you should.
Okay. So I don't want to get ahead without your report, but let me run with this a minute. We got a tip at one of the episodes. I'm not going to divulge which one. He needs to change his camera angle immediately. In that same episode, you'll see Corey's camera angle change when he's doing his shots. And from that point forward, the camera angle has been the same. That to me says a lot about Corey's character, his humility, his ability to integrate, his ability to act fast, and his ability to sustain. This is a lot. Now, it might not be in the rest of the people who are watching Boardroom Battleground, but for us as coaches, that is massive. All right, so now I'm off on a tear. Bring us back home, Jake. I'm way out in the stratosphere.
Well, to your point, in episode 3, where Corey's receiving some feedback, is relative to how he speaks. Now, here's where Corey and Mark have a very similar problem, different space. They speak a language they understand. They do not speak a language their consumer, customer, client, or audience understands.
Yeah,
Corey's a brilliant dude. He has got a vocabulary that will stomp Webster. It is absolutely amazing. And it is too much to connect. So to Mike's point of the way he takes the feedback, he took that very well, because the fact is Corey speaks that way every day, all the time. It's how everything he does, he speaks in that way. And the coaches reached out and said, Corey, dumb it down, dumb it down, dumb it down. And he did. He chose to take it as feedback, not as criticism, which is, to Mike's point, incredibly valuable. That's how you move a business forward. You don't assume that you are that person. He absolutely did it there. And then we really saw some interesting things start to happen. Episode 4. Where we were really talking about that foundational why. And again, this is where he was talking in his language. He understood the why. We couldn't understand the why because the vocabulary was still too steep. It was PhD level stuff of where he was talking. When he got to the point of being able to communicate his purpose, his why, what Loving AI is really doing, why he is just so passionate about doing the thing, working on the product, because he has multiple other businesses that are successful, but this project is important to him. And when he articulated that right there in episode 4, again, we met Corey. And suddenly in episode 4, something happened for all of the contestants, which was all part of our plan. We saw a collaboration develop. We saw Corey engaging with Emily. We saw Corey engaging with Mark. We saw Mark and Emily engaging. We saw everybody start to come back and collaborate together in different business spaces, but work together as a group. It was awesome. I loved that in 4. Next time on Boardroom Battleground.
I'm super excited to tune into our next episode and give the audience a little bit more of the input, a little bit more of the reflection, and a little bit more of the hand-holding that you and I have done with some of these people. Because, man, it has been, geez, I can't wait more behind the scenes. Once you guys see the stuff that Jake and I are going to be talking about in the next episode, I feel that some of that stuff is just absolutely opinion and life-changing.